Shalom. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to finish Matthew chapter 10. And this is the ending of this simple chapter where Jesus was giving directions to his disciples for the first time to go out and preach and teach in his name. He gave them authority to cast out demons, to heal the diseases and illnesses, to raise the dead, and to proclaim the gospel. And to conclude all of his instructions, beginning in verse 40, which is where we are. Anyone who welcomes you welcomes me. Anyone who welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. Whoever welcomes a prophet as a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. Whoever welcomes a righteous person as a righteous person will receive a righteous person's reward. And if anyone gives a cup of cold water to one of these little ones who is my disciple, truly I tell you, that person will certainly not lose their reward. So this is the conclusion of his ministry, of his instruction rather, to his disciples to go and preach. And he's telling them that anyone who welcomes you is welcoming me. Anyone who is persecuting you or rejecting you is actually rejecting me. I think there's a pretty good example of that in the book of Acts chapter 9, where the Apostle Paul, then he went by his Hebrew name of Saul, and he was persecuting believers in Christ. He was going to the synagogues and finding anyone who said they accepted Jesus as the Messiah. He was imprisoning them, confiscating their property, beating them, torturing them, even killing them or having them killed. And he was on his way to the city of Damascus to continue to do that. In his mind, he was protecting the name of God. He was standing up for what was right, and he believed that these Christians were blaspheming and that this was heresy and heretics, and he was going to stand up and defend God. And on his way to Damascus, doing what he thought he was doing, service to God, he was struck down by a bright light. Knocked him off his horse. Everybody that was with him got knocked off their horses too. And he heard a voice saying to him, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? And Saul said, Who are you? And the voice said, I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting. And there it is. If you reject Jesus, that's one thing. If you reject me and I'm telling you the gospel, and I'm telling you that you reject that gospel, you're not rejecting me, you're rejecting Jesus. If you attack me and hurt me, you will be hurting me, I promise. But you're also attacking and persecuting Jesus. And there is a judgment for that. Keep that in mind. Now he does end with about being hospitable. Giving a cold glass of water to someone that needs it, helping a prophet, helping someone, and you get a reward for that. You know, hospitality is an interesting thing. In Hebrews chapter 13, verse 2, the writer of Hebrews says, don't forget to entertain strangers in your home, because some of you, without knowing it, entertained angels. Now that's an interesting statement, which means you might meet some strangers. You might bring them into your home, give them a meal, give them a place to stay for the night, and they move on. You may not know it, but that might have been an angel. That's an interesting statement. Now, if you go through the Old Testament, you'll see several places, like for instance in Genesis chapter 18, Abraham was sitting under a tree by his camp, and he looked up and he saw three men coming towards him. And the writer of Genesis, Moses, says he knew it was the Lord. I thought that was interesting, the way he described three men coming to him, and he said he knew it was the Lord. And he had conversation with them, and that's when they were telling him about the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And he begged and begged, would you please, not destroy the city if you found just a couple of righteous people. Well, then a little bit later in chapter 19, it's when these two angels show up at Sodom. And Lot, Abraham's nephew, His name would be pronounced Lut in Hebrew. So Lut entertained these two angels in his home, and some terrible things happened that night because of how depraved the city was. But in the morning, the angels got Lut and his children and his family all out of the city before it was destroyed. Now his wife unfortunately looked back. She became a pillar of salt. But Lut and his daughters managed to escape. And that's more of a story than wanted to go there. But the point being is, they were angels. Lut didn't know it. He just opened his door and was hospitable to them. And this is what Jesus is telling us as well. And he's basically saying, for those of us who are ministering in his name, when we go somewhere, we're to receive the hospitality of those who give it to us. And that's all he's saying. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed Matthew chapter 10.